Hi, this is Sandy, and it's almost Christmas here. We got 2 more weeks, just about, and we're going to make Christmas balls or ornaments, things to hang on our Christmas tree, and we're going to use chalk and we're going to use watercolor. So grab your stuff and let's go. Okay, we're going to start with chalk. I have some green construction paper. We're going to try and do basically the same thing that we did last week with the sweatshirt. So we're just working on it some more. I've got a lid here. It's a perfect size for a ball for my ornament. And I'm going to use it to trace around so you can see it. I've just got a pencil here. And I'm going to go ahead and make it right there. And maybe there's one, how about half of one up here? And we'll give it another one down here. Okay, I've got 3 balls. We're going to pick a color chalk, and it's got to be a little bit lighter, because if you do darker on here, it's not going to show up as well. So I'm just going to pick a yellow, and I'm going to go around one side like this. Notice how I'm on the side of the chalk. I'm not on the tip, and I'm not going to do all of it. Just a half. And maybe I'm just going to fill in a little bit here and there. And then I might have, let's see, I'm going to put that chalk in there. I might go another shade, a shade darker for the other side. I'm on the side of the chalk. I'm not trying to color everything in even. I'm just trying to give it some highlights down there, low lights. Now I'm going to pick a totally different color. I've got a pink. Just going to put some color here and there and everywhere. And then I'm going to go in here and I'm going to take some white. Notice you can still see the green through this. So I've used these 4 colors. I'm going to take my finger and I'm just going to give it some swirls. It's picking up the green underneath this. So you could start with a blue. That would be really pretty. Okay, got a tissue or a clean paper towel to wipe my fingers off. And I've got that ball done. I'm going to pick up 4 different colors than what I have on this one. We can leave the white there. But let's go in and let's pick up some purples and some pinks and maybe a lighter pink. There's 4 colors. And just go in and let's give it some shape. I'm trying to think that if I had a light and it was shining right here, I'd see a lot of light. I'd see a lot of light there. So here's my darkest, and here's the next darkest. I'm still on the side of this chalk. And now I got to go with the lightest, or the light here. And I want to make sure I don't get it on my watercolor paper underneath here. And then I'm going to come in with the white where I know it's going to be really a light color. So I've got my 4 colors on. I'm just taking my finger and making a swirling motion, like little O's all over the place. Mixing between, not all of the color, but just between where the colors change. Then after I get it all done, I'm going to give it one little swipe. Pick it up and brush it, blow it off. Oh, I like that bulb. That's really pretty. Okay, I'm going to go get one more for 3 groups of color, and I think I'm going to go with, I don't want to go with green because green is the paper, but I might go with dark blue and then a middle blue and a light blue. I think that would be pretty. And let's say I've got a light right here. Changing where my dark is going to be, it's going to be over here on this one. Still on the side of this chalk. I don't go straight up and down at all. I'm using the whole side of this. Now I'm going to go over and go to the medium blue. And then I'm going to go to the lighter blue. And then I'm going to go to the white. Now, when I mix these colors, I'm going to first mix between the light and the next blue. And then I'm going to go to the next group. And then I'm going to go to the bottom group. Okay, now I'm going to pick up my paper, kind of blow it off. We'll wipe off my fingers, because now the fun starts. Right now, I've got to figure out where the light is. Maybe my tree only has white lights. So I'm going to put just a light, a small light. And I'm going to put a small light here. And I'm going to put a small light here. Maybe this looks a little light there, so I can put a small light there, but it doesn't have as much light as the others. Now I'm going to get some of the greens and probably this dark blue. And maybe I want a light green. And I will think about it when I get up to the next color, what I want to put on here. I might want to put yellow and I might want to put white. I've got this tree, my fir tree comes down here, and I'm drawing a line for you. And it's going to have branches that are, or pine needles, that are bigger towards the base. So we're just giving pine needles here. And you can come to a point where you know that this ball is it's too round right here, and maybe we've got a pine needle coming over it this way. But it's in front of these other pine needles. And maybe this one down here has pine needles going that way. And maybe this one, it can't have it right here because it's reflecting the light, but so it's got to go behind it. Okay? We'll worry about the rest of it later. Now I'm going to go in with another green. That's pretty much the same green, so that's not going to do much. I got to come up with a different green. I'm still on the side. Okay, now I'm going to come up with a different green. I'm still on the side. I'm not on a tip on the very tip of this, but I'm not completely flat. Okay, now I've got some dark, and I'm using blue as my darkest color. I could use brown. Let's see how that works. Brown's probably the better choice. Trying not to do the whole, just make a line. I'm trying to give a part where, yes, I can see the branch, but it isn't complete. Okay, now I'm going to go back to that blue. And where it's really darkest, I'm going to go ahead and give it some shade and shadow back there. Okay, now let's go to the lightest green, or let's go with a yellow. Not a real yellow, but sort of like the first one we used. And right around that light, where it's shining, we're giving it some lighter things to reflect on. What I want to do is show you that the techniques we used with the shirt work on construction paper and chalk. The same way, I can come down here and I can, maybe I want a gold ball. So let's get some gold color down here, but I just want a little bit. It's not going to be a big ball or ornament. It's going to be a little bit smaller. And it's going to disappear behind these pine needles. So I'm just showing you how you can do the same techniques as we're doing with the shirt, and how we did it with chalk instead. You could use crayons. You could use markers or even colored pencils. And you would get the same techniques, the same look as what we're getting right here. So let's not get stuck using one type of medium. Let's do watercolor. So I've got my watercolors out. And we're going to do basically the same thing. Now I'm going to use a pencil. This is a Tombow marker. The Tombow marker is dark enough for me to see it, but I can watercolor over it. These are dual brush pens, and I'm not sure you can really see that. I think you can. So this is a way of getting the your pencil marking down, but not really having to use a pencil. These are dual brush tip pens. They are water-based, which means our watercolors, when we use them, are going to mix with them. But there's not enough there to really worry about having the color mix with gray. So we're going to get a brush, and we're going to use water to make it wet. So I'm inside this circle. I'm going to get it all wet. I'm on the side of my brush. This is just water. Now the first one that we did, if I bring this over, was in the yellows. So I'm going to try and stick with the same colors. So this is nice and wet. If I look on the side, there's a sheen, but there's no water standing around. Now I'm going to get some yellow. So I've got a lot of yellow on my brush, a lot of pigment, a lot of water, and I'm not polka dotting. This is polka dotting. I'm not polka dotting. Laying the brush down, just kind of brushing it along the edge, but not really painting it. See all that white spot? The water is going to take and it's going to diffuse that on its own. Okay, now I'm going to go into an orangish color. And this right here is where it was dark. I'm not polka dotting. This is polka dot. I'm laying it on the edge in the gray, really. And it's going to mix with that. And I'm going to let this run. But I need another color to make it a little bit exciting. And I'm going to use pink again. A lot of water, not a lot of pigment, and I'm just going to let it run. Now, I don't have a lot of water on here, so I'm adding some water. And I'm going to say, okay, I want you guys to have fun. I'm going to lift up my pad, and I'm going to let it run. Now I'm going to use a dry brush. Doesn't have a lot of water in it. And right here where it doesn't want to mix, I'm going to give it a little bit of water and give it a little push and say, get over there. Okay, this one's done. And that was really pretty easy. If I want, I could come in and I could add salt. Salt to this would be really, really pretty. I think that's what I'll do. So I've got salt. I'm not going to throw it. I'm up about 3 inches from it, and I'm just going to tell it where I want it to be. Okay, now we're going to let it dry. Now I've got my lid, so I can tell it, so I can make some more balls or ornaments. And I think we need one hanging from the next tree up here. I'm just going around it. I don't even have to do this. If I can make a circle, I don't have to trace it. But sometimes circles are hard to make. Okay, that one that we did there was pink. So let's do some pinks. So first I'm getting it wet. Some noisy doggies here. Okay, I can see just a little bit of water on it if I look at it from the side, but it's not enough to make a puddle. That's what I want. So now I'm going to go with a dark pink. I'll go with this one right here. And I'm not polka dotting. I'm just laying the brush on the side. That's what I want. I'm encouraging it to run. Rinsing out my brush. Then I'm going to go with another pink, medium pink. And just barely let the tip of that brush go down on that paper. The last one is going to be a really shocking pink. Okay, now I'm going to take this up, pick it up and let it run. And I'm encouraging these colors to mix. Now there's a lot of water on this one. Can you see it puddling? If I were to put salt in that, it probably would eat the salt, and we don't want that to happen. So I'm gonna let it dry a couple minutes before I put the salt in. But I am going to take the edges and I'm gonna push it up to my line. And this brush was pretty dry. Didn't have very much water in it at all. Okay, I see it puddling there. I'm going to let it run a little bit, and then I'm going to put some more salt in it. Okay, another one. Let's go right here. Now I'm using the brush from the pen for me so that you can see it. If I were doing it so I wanted only me to see it, these pens have a pen marker, pencil tip. That's the one that I would rather use, but I really want you to be able to see this. Okay, the next one I used was blue. And we're going to do a blue one here. Now, have you figured out we haven't added white at all? Because there are really no white watercolors. The only way we can get white is to put a drop of water in and let it diffuse, let the water drop form its own white. So I've done that there. We'll see what it looks like. Okay, so let's do some blues. I'm going to start with something called Luna Blue. Lots of blue color. I forgot to get this wet. So this will be an exercise, and let's see how we can make it run ourselves without having the water there to encourage it. Okay, now I'm going to do a turquoise. And then I'm going to end up with cerulean blue. Cerulean blue is the color that I love to make in the sky. Okay, really don't want to touch those other colors yet, but I did. Okay, now I'm cleaning my brush out. Just water on it, and I'm going to put water in here to let those colors, tell those colors, okay guys, now you can play together. Then I'm going to lift up my pad and I'm going to let them run. I have to be really careful because that up there is so wet. Okay, I've got my small brush here. It's going to be really dry because I don't want to add any water to this. And I'm just pushing that paint up to the edges that I want it to go to. Okay, now I've got one really wet up there. And this one's pretty wet still. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some plastic wrap. This is just saran wrap or cling wrap. It doesn't have the sticky stuff on it. And I'm going to put it in here. And I'm going to scrunch it together with my fingers. Just like that. Now I've got to let this dry completely. Let's do one more bulb or ornament right there. Now this one, I don't want a lot of color in it. I want it to turn out really light. But I am going to go ahead and wet it down with clean water. Then I'm going to use, how about some purple? We don't have a purple one. Just at the edges. I'm not going to use a lot of color here. I'm going to add a little bit of water right here where it doesn't want to move. And maybe I'm going to put, oh, let's go with a really bright blue. This is my favorite color for the ocean. The one that you see around Hawaii. Okay. And now I'm going to come up with another purple, just a different color purple. I'm going to go up around this end. Now I'm going to tell it, just with a little bit of water, that you can move. This one up here is dripping, and I'm just going to wipe that drip off. Okay. I'm going to leave that one, not doing anything with that. That came out so pretty. I love the way it looks. But what I'm going to do now is I'm going to give it a hint of Maybe I've got a purple Christmas bulb right here. Not going to have a lot of color in it. Just going to give it a hint. And maybe I've got an orange Christmas bulb right up here. That one has a lot of color. I'm going to take some of the color out just by brushing it with water. All right, we need some yellow Christmas bulbs. So I'm going to put some there. I don't want that much color, so I'm taking it out, basically. I'm just laying my brush on it and letting the brush absorb that water. Good, I took that out. Now maybe there's going to be, oh, let's go with that hot pink. Let's put it over here. Just a hint that there's Christmas lights. Okay? So I've got one with not a lot of color. I've got one, it's a lot of color there, and it really got wet, but let's go ahead and let's give it a watermark again, because we lost it. Oh, I like that. Just laying some water in there, letting it get some light colors. So we got salt, plastic wrap, nothing. The rest has to dry before we can put the branches on top of this. So let's cut away, and I'll let you know how long it dries, and then we'll start with the rest of the branch. Okay, that dried for 30 minutes. And this is still a little damp, and so is the salt. So I'm not brushing the salt off until it's completely dry. But we can go ahead and work the stuff now. We're going to use the greens to make the tree branch. Okay, so let's see, I'll use some green. And I'm going to mix this up here so you can see it. So here's some green. And I would like it to be green, but I need it to be a little brown. So I'm going to use some red, and I'm going to use this scarlet red right here. Now watch what happens when I mix it with that green. Look at that brown. Isn't that wonderful? If I want it more green brown, I can just keep adding more green. But I've got a perfect brown for the green that I'm using. Okay, so let's go ahead and give it the tree branch. The tree branch is going to come down here. There's a light that's clipped on it there. Okay, gives you an idea where the tree branch is. Now I'm going to take the green that I had, and I'm just going to flick it up as though it were stem or little pine needles. Now, I don't want to get it in this yellow, so I'm going to be very careful as I go from the yellow. I'm going to start there and then go in like that, because that bulb, the ball is in front of the pine needles. Okay, now while that is still wet, I want it to be a little bit, the colors of those pine needles aren't all the same. So I've even got some oranges here that I'm putting in. And you see the flick of the brush? It's not a paint like that. Let's put the brush down and kind of flick. I can flick towards me, or I can flick away from me. Okay, I need those to mix a little bit more. So I'm going to come back in and get some more green. Now on a pine branch, when it gets to the end, it doesn't just stop. It's almost like it goes with little pine needles right there. Sometimes that's where you'll also see the nuts, the pine cones, pine nuts. I really want my colors to mix here. I don't want it to totally be separate. Might need a little bit, maybe we'll put some of that brown in here. Oh, that didn't turn real brown, did it? Makes you kind of wonder what it would happen if you just put red in it. Okay, I'm being real careful about this. It's still a little damp, so it might spread, but I want you to look at, this is where we took the color pencil, the watercolor pencil, and we used the sandpaper or an emery board, and we just rubbed it on the emery board, and the shavings from this created this. It's kind of pretty, isn't it? But I am going to take my brush, and some of these pine needles are going to go on top of this one. Maybe I want a little bit deeper green. So I'm going to come out here, and I'll show you, I've got a deeper green here, and I'm going to grab some of this purple, a little more green. And now it's going to be a real deep green. Now, this is my ornament that had the saran wrap all put in a clump there. Look at the beautiful design that has. But I am going to cover some of this up. Okay, this is just that one tree branch. I can come in here with some yellow and just lay some yellow on top of it too. Give it some highlights. I can come in with some gold. And maybe I'll even come in with some blues. We can go ahead and we can put the tip top of the ornament on it. And I might use a gold to do that. So I've just got a little bit of gold, and I'm not even making it all filled in. Now I can go ahead and I can put more limbs from our tree, and I can keep working this. It gets pretty dense in some of those places. I could do as much as I wanted to finish this off. When the paint is dry again, you can take, it's called Chinese white or white gouache. And we can actually put the little stem hook from that hangs this onto our tree, and we'll be able to see it. But this has to be, once again, completely dry before I do that. I think I need a little bit more on here. Remember that your pine tree has to have room to actually breathe. So if you fill in all the spaces, your pine tree isn't going to survive. Now let's think about those lights that we've got there. I'm just going to take some blue that I've got out, and I'm going to give the light a little clip. And I'm going to give this light a little clip. Here, he needs a clip that goes on this one. And he needs a clip there. So our lights now have a spot. You can also take and dry brush. We know that this was an orangish color. So I can take that and just give the tip a little orange. I can take this pink and give this little tip just a little orange or pink, just to give it something to shine. When I then take the white, I will put a little highlight on it. Okay, this is called white gouache. It's basically an acrylic color, but it's water-based. It cannot mix with your paints. If it mixes with your paints, it will make them all chalky. So I've got some on here. I'm going to get some on my brush, and I'm going to decide where I think, yeah, that might have a white. Now, if I put it someplace and it hasn't dried, it's going to look different. It's going to look chalky. But that's dried pretty good. Let's see if I can get it to do there. It just isn't going to make the color look good. Okay, and we need some right there. We're going to put a little highlight there. Now on this one, I can take and I can make with this white on those watermarks just some little decorations. Maybe this one's going to have now this will dry lighter, but it's giving our watercolors just a little bit different look. Okay, I think we're done here. I want you to have fun decorating your tree and doing something a little bit different. We've done it with acrylics now, we've done it with watercolor, and we've done it with chalk. Think about another way you can do it. See you next week.